So welcome to the Elevate Quality, Eliminate Recalls Lunch and Learn webinar this afternoon. We're looking forward to spending the next little while with you. Get this to move forward here for us. So my name is Spencer Dean. I'm going to be your moderator and host here for the next hour or so. I am a sales director here at MasterControl, and I'm here in Salt Lake City, Utah, where our corporate headquarters are located. Just a couple of quick housekeeping items. If you do have questions, please utilize the Q&A function at the bottom. That's typically where we answer questions. If you put it in the chat, we may miss it, so just an FYI there. And then we will also leave some time at the end for Q&A. If we run out of time, then rest assured we'll make sure that we get you your answers via email, and we'll have our contact information as well. I'm going to spend the next little while just giving you kind of some high-level overview information about MasterControl and our solution. And then after that, we'll have one of my esteemed colleagues, Dallas Volk, is going to do a demonstration of MasterControl so that you can get a feel for the user interface, some of the functionality associated with our technology and software. And our company, our goal is to bring life-saving products to more people sooner. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. So let's talk a little bit about med device or pharma recalls. So as you can imagine, this can be fatal for, and has been fatal actually, for many organizations over the years. Common themes that we'll see are that, there's an absence of written procedures or documentation. There's a lack of investigation into batch records. There's inadequate process validation or inadequate training procedures. In fact, that is one place that the FDA likes to go to. One of the first places they'll look is, hey, is this person trained to be able to do this task, or what they're doing in this organization? And so often this goes back to manual process, paper-driven process. And so that's where some technology can help. So as far as recalls go, there's been a 115% increase since 2018. In fact, the pharmaceutical industry reached a 19-year high from 23 to 24, increasing by 42.5%. And then the med device industry had experienced their second consecutive year of growth in recall activity, with 3 out of 4 quarters dominated by quality-related incidents. So just to give you some examples, Draeger Medical had in 2023 a recall where they had to recall over 500,000 airway devices due to a manufacturing defect that could lead to death or hypoxia, so not a good thing, right? Endo Pharma in 2024 had to recall a pharmaceutical product due to a label error, and then in 2024, Gilead also had a product recall. So big impact. In fact, if you look at that, McKinsey did a study, and they discovered that a recall can cost an organization, obviously depending on their size, millions up to as much as $600 million on an annual basis. In the med device industry alone, in the US, recalls equate to $5 billion a year. So significant amount of money. In addition to that, and not counted in that $5 billion number, is the lawsuits that are associated with that, as well as the tarnishing of your brand and the impact on the public trust of your product. So it's obviously a big deal. So how do we prevent recalls? Well, we're of the opinion the best way is to prevent recalls in the first place. And so the way that you do that is digitization. Going through a digital transformation can help with that by closing some of those gaps where a lot of these organizations are getting audited and having to recall things because of quality process errors and those types of things. So it helps eliminate errors. It creates enhanced collaboration across the organization so that all the way from your C-level down, has visibility into your organization, making sure things are on time, on budget, and are compliant. So just giving you that additional visibility so that in the event you do get an audit or in the event that you do have issues, you can head those off at the pass. So MasterControl, we have our platform we refer to as ADAPT. And on the left-hand side there, you'll see QX, which stands for Quality Excellence, and that is our quality management system. And then on the right side there, you see the MX, which is Manufacturing Excellence, which is our manufacturing execution system. Underneath our QX piece there, which is the QMS, you've got what you would expect in a fully functional QMS, which is our documents, training, quality events, audit risk, all of those things that you would want to see. And then on the manufacturing side, we've got production, equipment, inventory tracking, backflush, those types of things, as well as logbooks, which has been super popular with a lot of our clients. Those are seamlessly integrated, so right out of the box, they work together. You do not need to do any additional type of integration, which is a big advantage for MasterControl. On top of all of that, and we'll illustrate this in the demonstration, we have got business intelligence and dashboarding so that you have that visibility into the organization to make sure whether you're the CEO that things are on budget, on time, or you're more involved in the business as a director or manager, giving you visibility into your organization as well. And then in addition to that, we have AI. So a big thing that we've added recently is AI to create exams, which has been hugely popular with our clientele. Imagine how much time you could save not having to deal with writing all those exam questions. And then the last thing is integrations. And so a lot of our clients want to integrate into their ERP system or their LIMS system. And we have the ability to do that as well so that you have a fully functional, robust system that complements, if you need to complement our QMS or MES, we can help you there. All right, so let's talk a little bit more specifically about our QMS. And so we have a closed loop QMS. As you can see over there on the left side, you've got all the different types of quality events. Our goal is to help you reduce costs by increasing productivity and reducing the risk associated with, where you've got to have quality associated with your product. And so let's just say that you have a CAPA. The power of a closed loop system is that it's going to contain that CAPA so that that does not happen anymore. So what will happen is MasterControl will kick off a workflow that will enable you to do a root cause investigation. From there, that's going to trigger a corrective or preventative action. And then that will trigger a workflow to whereby that document's going to be updated so that anybody that has to approve it, it'll be routed to for their signature and approval. And I like to say that all of this happens automatically. And the outcome associated with this on the right-hand side there, you can see, you're going to be able to utilize fewer resources. So if you're like most organizations, everybody's pretty busy. And so what this does is frees up some time for your people to do some of the other things that have maybe been put on the back burner. It's going to increase your training cycles. No more chasing down people on a spreadsheet as to who or who hasn't been trained. It's going to give you faster analysis and then faster resolution. So just overall increasing, the ability to make a profit or reduce expenses. Our solution, one of the benefits of MasterControl is our validation. And we refer to this as VXT. So going along with the QX and MX, we have VX. And that's our validation solution, which is a patented process, gives you all of the IQ, OQ, PQs that you would expect right out of the box from the first validation to ongoing validations as product is updated or enhanced, new workflows are created. This solution was created with the help of a director from the FDA. We have seen multiple clients go from weeks, even months, to completing validation to, with our validation tool, being able to do that in as little as 45 minutes. So huge time saver, huge ROI on our validation solution. All right, so this is the G2 quadrant, which is the largest peer-to-peer review network out there. And the reason I show you this is just kind of wanted to illustrate. On the left side there, you see MasterControl and our QMS as an industry leader as well as a high performer, and then the same on the right-hand side there in the manufacturing execution. And to lead into that, so we've got over 1,000 customers, I think around 1,300 at this point. And those customers range from, the smallest, the brand new startup, all the way up to the largest of, large, huge companies like Pfizer and Thermo Fisher that you see there on the screen. The reason I show you this and why would this matter to you is we want to make sure you understand that we have been there and we've done that. Whether you're starting out new or you've been around for a while, we have probably seen the scenario or the challenge that you're facing currently in your organization, and can provide some best practices and some suggestions as to how to solve those problems. And so as you look at this, just kind of want to illustrate we're here to help. Our goal is to help you find a solution that most closely meets your needs. Hopefully that's us. If it's not, we'll tell you, but we've been there and we've done that and can help out. All right, so that was kind of a high-level information overview about MasterControl and some of the outcomes that you can expect from our technology. Rather than talking anymore, I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to let Dallas Volk, who is our solutions consultant, as I mentioned, is going to run through a demonstration. Unfortunately, Dallas had another obligation, so he had to record this beforehand. As a reminder, I will leave time at the end for Q&A, and so just use the Q&A functionality. If the questions are too technical, again, rest assured we will make sure that we get you answers if it's something that I can answer via email to make sure that we get those to you. So with that, let's go ahead and kick off the demo.
Yeah, let me share my screen really quickly. All right. So today I'd just like to show you some ways where MasterControl as a QMS can help eliminate those areas where you may get findings are in one location where you can use that data to get analytics to help you with your processes. MasterControl is big on helping you with kind of some starting points and best practice configurations. So a lot of dashboards have already been created for you, but this does have the ability for your people that have the rights to go in and create their own dashboards, pull their own data. But there's some other tools in here that can really help you to keep things from happening that you don't want, that could cause those findings and things like that. So I'm showing you here just quickly a dashboard on training KPIs. And it's really showing how much training is completed, the average date to complete that training, the percentage of all training tasks due. And you can see that, all training tasks due is at 2.2%. Well, that's okay. That's not something to cause a lot of alarm. But the ability to take data and look at things and set limits to be notified when certain things happen is really powerful. So if this ever got to 5%, for example, I would like the management team to get notified. So I can come into data points and say, okay, if that data point ever gets greater than or equal to, 5%, then I would like a notification and I would like the management team to get notified, or I would like the quality team or specific individuals to get notified. So now I have the ability to set up lower control limits, right? Where if anything gets beyond that lower control limit, then I want to get notified that our processes could be getting out of control and we need to take action on that. Along with that is also the ability to extract that data as you need to. I'm going to go to another report really quick. And use the system to not only visually show that data, but also to send data out on reports. So maybe I want a past due training task to go to management every week. So like a past due training report. So I can set up training reports to go out periodically. I can set up Excel spreadsheets so I can export that data out if I need to. So the ability for me to keep people notified on their statuses is really important in that as well. So I just want to hit on this insights tool really quickly, but I really want to get into the software and kind of start showing you the software. So MasterControl has a lot of places where they can help you with configuring your system, helping you configure your system how you want, but it also has the ability for you to configure the system. So we have best practices that we can implement when we implement MasterControl, but you always have the ability to configure the system however works best for your business. So creating your document types and how they work, creating your workflows for quality events, setting up your training how you want to. Your team will have the ability to do that configuration. Everything is very easy to configure. We will teach you the configuration, and then you can control the rights on how those people configure that. Now, part of the configuration that is also really helpful is I'm going to log in as a user in my system. So this is kind of a user experience. So Jeff in my company, he's on the manufacturing floor. He's what we call a manufacturing operator. So part of my configuration in the system was creating a role where the manufacturing operators get a different experience than, say, a quality manager or somebody who works in a lab. So I have a role in my system that I created called quality manager, and the rights I allow my operators to see in the system is they can only see certain types of documents. So I've configured quality procedures, corporate policies, manufacturing work instructions, all sorts of different types of documents to design history file documentation, marketing materials. There's a lot that I've configured into my system to control those document types, but this operator only gets access to the corporate documentation, the quality procedures, and the manufacturing work instruction. Why is that? I wanted my operators to have a really easy experience on being able to find only documents that are related to their job and not muddling through a lot of documents that don't have anything to do with what they do. But another thing I can do, and this is where it can really help you with those findings, a lot of issues come up with users not being able to find documents quickly, grabbing the wrong revisions of documents. So to eliminate that, what I've done is I've created folders. Well, first of all, with the rights that Jeff has, is documents can be in several statuses, right? They could be in draft, where we're creating a new revision of a document or creating a new document. They can be approved or released, where they have been signed off as the working document, or they can be archived as old revisions of documentation. So along with only giving Jeff access to certain types of documents that relate to his job, I can also only give him access to approved documents. So now when my operators are going into the system to find documentation, not only are they only finding documents that are related to their job, but they're also only working to approved documents. So I'll never have to worry about a finding about an operator working to an archived document, because the system will not allow their role to see that archived document. Along with that, I can also organize the documents so that the people can find it really quickly. And the system will automatically organize these for me based off of the configuration I've set up. This is called an Explorer folder. And you can see, for example, Jeff in the operator document, he get to his manufacturing procedures really quickly. which will show all of the manufacturing procedure. Notice they're only in a release state because Jeff can't see draft or archive. But the system's automatically organizing it. This folder is looking for manufacturing procedures that are approved. So as new manufacturing procedures come in, go through the automated workflow and get approved, that folder will automatically point to those. Documents that get revised, revision 1 is approved, revision 2 is getting released. As revision 2 goes through its redlining and approval process within the system and gets approved, revision 1 gets pushed into an archive state. This folder automatically updates to revision 2. So in turn, what I get is a virtual SOP binder for my operators that nobody in my company has to maintain it, always keeping itself up to date with the latest and newest revisions of those documents. Nobody's maintaining that. So really what I want is for Jeff to come into the system, be able to find his documents really easily, go to training tasks that are up for him, where he can go through his training task and take his exams and sign off on that really quickly and easily see that really quickly. But I really want my operators to have a software that looks like it was just created for operators to find their documents and do their training. So that's how I set it up for Jeff. And then if I go in as somebody like a quality manager or a manufacturing manager, their access is much different because they need to do a lot more things in the system. They have to be able to create documents, investigate complaints, set up people's training requirements. So you see when Matt's logged into the system, not only does he have access to the My Master Control, but he has access to other parts of the system like documents, training, working on, maybe he works on audits a little bit. So he's got configuration, it's been configured for this management, the person in this management role, to be able to do a lot more in the system than an operator. Now, I'm going to get into starting to show some of the functionality of the system. But one thing I want to do is I'm going to search for a document really quick, and I want to tell you the story show you the story that I'm going to tell you. So let me pull into this document. So what I want to show you is how Master Control, as a closed loop system, can help you. So all of the functionality of Master Control is on one software platform, and the system can organically connect that, create a quality ecosystem for you. So a day in the life. I have a deviation that has been brought up. So I'm filling out a deviation form, and during the investigation of that deviation form, I realized that this is a very high-risk deviation and may need to be escalated to CAPA. So I've created my system so I can launch a child form right off of that deviation and send that to my CAPA team so that they can start doing a deeper dive evaluation of that corrective action or of that issue and see if it needs to go into a full-blown CAPA process, or maybe it could be tracked and trimmed or closed as just an event based off of that risk. If they decide that that needs to go into CAPA, then they can launch a CAPA form directly from that issue review, which will take them through their root cause investigation, their corrective action planning, their implementation of that corrective action, effectiveness verification. But oftentimes during the implementation part of that, part of the implementation is to revise documentation. Now the documents module takes over the document revision process. If it's a procedure that needs to be revised, the system knows how that document gets revised, all the attributes of that document, takes it through its workflow through an automated process, and then approves that document. Now that's going to take care of the document part, but I can link the CAPA directly to that document. So I now have a connection that this document to this revision was changed because of this CAPA. And with that document being revised, we also have a tight integration between the documents module and the training module. So the training module knows that a procedure is being revised. As soon as it gets revised, the system knows all of the people that trained to that document. So upon the approval of that procedure, the training module launches out training to all the required trainees with that new revision attached to it. Now, that actually gives me the ability, if you've ever sat in an audit and tried to, an auditor or inspector's looking at a deviation and sees the risk in that, and they want to know what all you have done for that high risk deviation. Typically, before we went to this system at my previous company, that was an exercise in scrambling to a bunch of different places on the computer, different filing cabinets within the system, trying to find the doc, all the training records, showing how that's related to that CAPA, how that goes back to that deviation. Now that's all connected internally. So for that deviation, they say that's high risk. I'll say, yes, that is high risk. You can see from my risk score. So what I did is I sent that to our CAPA team to do a deeper dive evaluation of that for escalation. They showed that it needed to go to CAPA. So I clicked the link and showed the corrective action plan that we went through to correct that problem and the effectiveness check. But if they want to go down that rabbit hole deeper, they'll say things like, show me the documents that were changed. Well, now all I have to do is click the link from the CAPA to the documents, show all the documents that were revised from that system. In turn, that shows all the training that happened on those documents. So now when that auditor or inspector says, show me everything that happened with this deviation, in 4 mouse clicks, I can take you from the deviation to the training that happened because of that high risk deviation and the entire process that happened to get it from that deviation to the training that happened. So I'm going to start with just showing you some of the different modules in the system. Let me log out as Matt. Everybody has the rights that they can do. Go in as somebody who has the right to do what I want to show. So I'm going to start with the forms process in MasterControl. So for your forms, your quality events, things like deviations, non-conformances, CAPAs, things like that. MasterControl has a tool called Advanced Quality Event Management. It's a no-code tool where you can create workflows with the data you want to collect in each step of that workflow for those quality events. Just as an example, I might be working on an unplanned deviation. When I go into that deviation, it shows me the data that I'm supposed to put in for my step in the workflow. The system sent me the task because I'm in the workflow as the person that investigates deviation. So I get the task. I would go through and fill out the data that I'm required to fill out. I would be able to see all of the data that has been given to me in previous steps of the workflow. I am able to link any supporting, attach any supporting documentation, like if I have images or PDFs of emails that I want to attach a supporting documentation. I can also link to other pieces of the system. I can link to procedures. I can link this to maybe there's already a CAPA open for this and I want to link it to that CAPA to make it part of that CAPA. I can link to that. I have the ability to do things like ask for extension requests and send out tasks for people to give me information that I need for this deviation. So I can fill out my data and submit that, and then it moves along in the workflow. But I'm capturing all that data. It's something that I can do analytics on, and it can connect to the other pieces of the system. So from the user point of view, I just want to show you how that was all created. Now, MasterControl will provide you with best practice out-of-the-box solutions for those quality events. Things like out-of-spec, non-conformances, CAPAs, issue review, deviations, management of change. And for each of these processes, we've given you a best practice template based off of our 20 plus years of experience within the quality event world and working with customers, with all the customers that we have. So we can give you your own workflow showing you, where we build this out, where it starts with capturing non-conformance issues, the data that we typically see captured for a non-conformance, the workflow that goes on to go through non-conformance to risk assessment, to investigations, to verification, disposition. So if you want to use our template right out of the box, you can use that template. Just put in the people in the steps that are supposed to be notified when it goes through that workflow, and that's all you really need to do in the system. You can also, because it's such an easy tool to design in, you can also, let me go back to, let's go to this. You could also take our out-of-the-box solution and modify it however you need for your business. So maybe in that first step, there are fields in here. There are fields in here where you don't like the labels for those. You could change those labels. Maybe there's fields that we're collecting that you don't need at all. You could delete those fields out. Maybe you need to add fields that are not in our out-of-the-box solution. So it's just a matter of you going into this little widget here and picking the type of field you want. Maybe I want a long text field here. I want to ask a question. I want to make that a required field. Maybe put some hint text in there, character limit. So in this scenario, I'm taking MasterControl's out-of-the-box solution and I'm modifying it to some specifics in my business. And then you also have the ability for those forms, whether we're way off on what we want to show to you, or you have forms that we don't have a template for, you can also create your own forms from scratch, where you just come in here and you build your workflow out how you want it to work, go into each of those steps of that workflow, and put your own data in there that you want to collect. I'm doing one here for a continuous improvement form that I want people to be able to launch if they see a place in my company for improvement where they add that information in there, and let us evaluate that and see what kind of plan we would want to put in place to implement that continuous improvement plan. So I actually built my own form in here. It's a very easy tool, all no code to build your own forms. So with that, I've got through that form piece. That also works with the, that configuration piece also works with documents and training. I just want to show a few things on document. You as a company can create whatever document types you want in the system. We can configure those for you as well. But as your people put documents into the system, let's say I'm going to put an SOP in here. Really, because it's configured, because you've configured it, or with the help of us have configured this, or you can configure these on your own. Let me put a manufacturing procedure in. The system is configured to make it really easy for the end user. I want to create a manufacturing procedure. I don't have to know what the next number in the scheme is. I've had the system creating the numbering scheme for me based off of either my previous numbering scheme or a numbering scheme I've designed. It knows where it lives in the system, so I don't have to figure out where to put this in the system. It knows the workflow it goes on to be approved. Really, all I need to do is give this a title, add the document that I want to put into the controlled environment to go through its approval process. You'll see a place where you can create your own metadata to track and trend, search, report, organize. So I like to organize my documents by product. So I am forcing my end users to put the product in, but that could be product, department, location, customer, project. And then another piece that's really nice is the ability to link documentation together. So if I have a procedure that's related to 2 work instructions or referenced in 2 work instructions, I can link the procedure to the work instructions. That gives me a place where I can search for documents based off of documents that reference each other. But also the system will warn you if you go to change a procedure, you go to revise the procedure, it'll warn you that there may be other documentation that needs to be updated because of that. So when I go to check out a procedure to revise it, the system will tell me that you have 2 work instructions that also could be affected by this. Do they need to be revised? So if keeping documents out of sync is a problem within your facility, this really helps with that. Now, sorry, like I said, you can design your own workflows in the system. So for those documents, you can build your workflows where your teams can, and you can create different workflows for different document types. So maybe for my manufacturing procedure, I have a team that collaborates on a new procedure or the revision of a procedure, where those people can go in, review the document, make edits to the document, get it ready for approval. And then when I feel that document is ready for approval, so we're all doing that in one place. When I feel it's ready for approval, I can sign off on that and move it into the approval process. Now the system will automatically move it to the next step. It'll notify the people in those steps, and it will also send them an email notification. You can do things like parallel steps where you can get documents through the system much quicker because you're sending it to multiple people, multiple groups to approve at the same time. You can do escalation. So if one of your groups doesn't sign off on a document in a certain amount of time, it might get escalated to their manager. So you'll see almost an instant increase in throughput on getting documents approved based off of the workflow building tool. Also, another thing that's nice is the ability to create PDF renderings of the document. So, and that can be a right thing. So my management team that makes revisions to documents, they have access to the native documents in the system, but they can also see the PDF that MasterControl created. My operators, I don't want them to get their hands on the native file, so they only have access to the PDF rendering. What this will do is, one, give them the ability to give you the ability to put watermarks and things like that on the document, but also put rules on the document. So for my manufacturing team, I am letting them print the document out. You can take that right away as well. So when they print the document out, it'll do things like document who printed that document out and when that document expires. So I've set up a 48-hour expiration date on manufacturing procedures. So now when somebody prints it out, it shows who printed it and when they printed it, but also will stamp an expiration date that this document's only good for 48 hours from the time that it was printed out. Now, one thing that is really cool that will save you from a lot of findings is, let's say that my operator takes a electronic copy of the document, does a file save as, and saves that PDF to their desktop. That is every quality person's nightmare, because that person now has a rogue copy. They're never going back to that controlled environment. So what the system does is, if they do a file save as and save that to their desktop, that expiration date actually turns into a time bomb on that PDF that they took. So they can open that document for 48 hours, but on the 49th hour, when they go to that icon and try to open it up, the system will just tell them the document's expired, it will no longer open. They had to go back to master control for another rendering. So I think everybody that's been in a quality audit at one point or another has had to explain to an auditor why Jeff's on revision 2 of the document and the rest of the company is on revision 4. This actually helps eliminate that problem, because it's blowing up that document after a certain period of time. All right, so back to my overall view of this. I kind of got through that documents piece. I wanted to show one more thing on the documents piece, sorry. So as our documents are in the system and they go through, revision or collaboration of a new document, approval and release, not only am I updating those folders that I set up for different groups, but the system will automatically send training out upon the approval of that document. So in the training module, I will have configured for that labeling procedure, I will have configured a labeling training course that has all the rules and instructions and who trains for that. So as that document gets approved, the system sees the change of state of that and automatically launches the training out. So I'm not running around figuring out how to get all the people trained. The system's taking that part over. And I want to show the training piece of this really quick. Let me log back out here. So I did show the training piece of the end user for Jeff when he gets his training task, but this document that Jeff's training on, if you look at the materials, is actually a procedure that got revised and the system automatically launched that training out. The way that happened was, we've created courses in the system for all of my different training tasks with the rules, instructions. Do I need an exam? What are they training to? Linking it to a document makes an internal connection, but you can also attach other pieces. But what I really want is to set up my training matrix so that anytime I need to see what's going on with a group like operators, it's easy for me to go into the status of that group, see the operators in my company, their curriculum to be trained as an operator, and their percentage of completion. So you can see here that for my operators, I can really quickly see who could, do a task. Maybe if somebody called in sick, I could see really quickly who can do a task. I can really quickly see as an auditor who, is behind when an audit, or as a quality manager, who's behind it when a training task comes up. So, an auditor's coming in, I know that I don't want them to see Doug Little at 9% completion. So this gives you a really cool view of how the different groups are doing and how they're going on in their curriculum. The trainees actually get tasked in the system. That task goes through an introduction telling them what they need to do, the materials that they're training to, so they would see the materials. If you want to test for competency, you can build exams. A lot of regulations now are requiring proof of competency. An exam is a great way to do that, where they go into the exam. I've created an exam for them. They got to get a passing score. I've given them retakes. When they go into the exam, it'll show the questions that I've created for them. True, false, multiple choice, matching, sequencing, numeric. Also being able to put images in there and ask questions about the images. As they take the exam, it will show their level of complete, or how they did in that exam, what they got correct, what they got incorrect, whether they passed or failed. Now, if Jeff would have failed, he would have gotten a retake. In this case, Jeff passed, so he will sign off with his electronic signature. And now it'll update everywhere in the system that Jeff is now trained to that labeling procedure. Now, as far as those exams go, I don't know if you have ever had to create exams. I am horrible at creating exams. It's easy to think of questions. For me, the hardest part is trying to think of incorrect questions. So or incorrect answers. So when you have a multiple choice, it's easy for me to pick the the correct question, the correct answer, but coming up with 3 incorrect answers that actually make sense, that was the hardest part for me. I just hate creating exams. So Master Control has created an AI tool that will generate exams for you. So I want to show you that really quick. Let me go back into myself. So let's say that I've got a procedure out there, and part of that is I want an exam for people to take as part of their training requirements. It's really just as easy for me to choose the document that I want to do an exam on, tell the system to process that document so that I can select the areas where I want to ask questions, and then tell the system to generate questions. So you'll see from that document that I selected the areas I want questions from, the system will go through, it's figuring out the questions it's going to ask right now. So the system starts kicking me out questions from that document. You'll see it's asking me questions like, what does the acronym AQL stand for? And it actually gives some pretty logical incorrect answers as well. So it came up with 5 questions for me. It also, if I don't like the questions, I can say, you know, regenerate a new question. I don't like that one. Or if I want to edit it, I can edit it, or I can just kick it out if I want to. So the time that it takes you to create an exam, even if it's only, you know, an hour, I'm now doing it in 5 minutes. So it's a really valuable tool to save time for your users that create those. So there's only one more piece in the demonstration that I want to show, and that's the big picture, looking at, and I haven't got into our manufacturing tool. I'm going to show you a scenario here really quickly where, so we do have a manufacturing tool where you can create your batch records or your DHF. So your people are actually doing that data in the system electronically, rather than on paper. Paper is a nightmare. Matt talked about it earlier with our review by exception, where it just shows you any errors in the system where people weren't trained or where, you know, maybe a deviation was launched or a correction was made. Your people will be able to go into the system. Let me go back to this. Your say engineers or the people designing your production records, they'll be able to go in and build your batch record so that people are going to, it's going to mistake proof a lot of your production records, right? With people not skipping steps, people not putting anything that's illegible, people forgetting the way that you're supposed to correct an error in the system. So you can build those processes out. But one thing that this will do is it will actually integrate with your quality system. So I can attach procedures and work instructions directly to the manufacturing record. So that manufacturing record always has the latest procedure associated with it. It will do training checks so that if you're not trained to the procedure that you're working on in that production record, the system won't let you put data in. It will actually send you to your training task to train on it so that you can come back and put data. You can also launch quality events from your production record. So I can launch deviations and nonconformances directly from my production record so that I don't have to figure out how to make that connection from the quality system back to the manufacturing tool. And I'm going to show you just really quickly here in the system. Let me go to manufacturing. So I'm just going to show you a really quick scenario here, and then I will be done with my demonstration. So I'm going to production records, and I'm going to show you what it would look like to an end user when they go into the system. They would go to the production record that they're working on. Let me see you all here real quick. So I'm working on this production record 217, lot number 217. I go through my workflow and work on the pieces that, you know, that are part of my job. So if I go into this, you know, line clearance on the production area, notice that it's not letting me put data in because I haven't trained to this. So it's actually giving me a link to my training task so I can do the training, and then I can come back and have it check the training, and I can start putting the data in there. Now, in another step of this procedure, or this manufacturing for construction. Let me go back out of this. This is actually also doing some calculations, and my calculations are showing that I'm out of specification. So I'm able to launch deviations directly from the production record, and that would be attached to that actual section where we deviated. And then in the review by exception part of this, it will also show you any forms that have been launched and what areas that those were applicable to. So a deviation was launched in the system. I've got the link to the deviation. It shows me exactly what caused that deviation to be launched. And then if you go back to the quality side of this, you'll see that, back to mine, AQM. So a deviation was launched because of a manufacturing process. If you look at this, here's the deviation that I'm working on. Notice that it's linked here to some other pieces. So the deviation caused me to come in and initiate a deviation, put in my deviation information, also start doing investigations on that deviation, on what caused that. And because of my risk score in this deviation, it says that this should be escalated to be reviewed for CAPA. So what I did is I launched an issue review, which is a CAPA request form, so that my CAPA team could actually do a deeper dive look into that deviation and see if it's something that might need CAPA. So you can see that this deviation, we went through the issue initiation, the risk assessment, the disposition of that. The disposition said this does need a CAPA. So you can see that I'm tied directly to a CAPA that was launched from this issue review, which is now taking me through, I'm in the root cause investigation step of this, and it will go through its workflow through root cause, corrective action planning, plan implementation, effectiveness check, and deviation. But I just wanted to show you really quickly the ease of how I tied all of that together. I had that manufacturing process that caused the deviation to happen. While I'm in the deviation, I can see the risk took me to a CAPA review. So I clicked the link and took me to that CAPA review. The CAPA review showed that, from our CAPA team, showed that it did need to go to a CAPA. Click the link and show the CAPA that I'm in now. If documents need to be revised, I'll link to those documents, and it'll show me all of the documents that were revised, which in turn will show me the training that happened on those documents. So that's the big picture value that you get out of this, is where you can eliminate those areas for potential findings, which in turn could cause recalls. So I'm going to stop there with my demonstration, and I'm going to turn it back over to Matt for any questions that we might have.
All right. So we haven't had a ton of questions come through. Let me see if I can get this back up. And sorry about the the audio going off for a minute. I forgot that I couldn't mute, so that was just to keep you on your toes. So thanks for bearing with me. Hopefully that gave you some good insight. So we did get, I'm for some reason not seeing the Q&A function, so I've got my admin sending me the questions, and I made a quick note as well. So first question is was just around unplanned deviations, and the question was, aren't all deviations unplanned? The short answer to that is yes. I think the only time that somebody would use a planned deviation would be to test the system itself to see if, you know, that followed through and went through the workflow in the correct manner. So I think that's a good point and a good question. I also, just as I was sitting here, jotted down just some other things that a lot of times people will ask. Let me get rid of this. And so one question, and I alluded to this at the beginning, is, you know, is this, can you customize the solution? Can you customize the software? And so we don't customize, but we do configure. And so, you know, depending again on whether you're just starting out as a startup, a small organization, or you're a large organization like some of the ones we illustrated earlier with Pfizer and Thermo Fisher, we have the ability to configure the solution, our software, to your specific requirements and your technical requirements. You know, if you've got single sign-on, if you've got those types of things that you need, we have the ability to do all of that. And so whether you're just starting out, you need something that's out of the box, just plug and play, we can help you there, as well as if it's something that needs to be a little bit more configured, for your specific needs, we're able to do that as well. Another common question that we get asked is, is this a on-premise solution or is this a cloud-based solution? And the answer to that is we are a cloud-based solution. So basically, as long as you can get the internet, you can access Master Control, whether that be on your smartphone, whether that be on an iPad or an Android device, as long as it's your desktop, your laptop, whatever, as long as you can get an internet connection, then you can access our technology. And so that makes it really nice. As you can imagine, paper process doesn't work that well if it's not SaaS and somebody's got to be there. And so, rewinding back to the COVID era, it was nice because a lot of people that had our technology were able to continue to run their quality processes and manufacturing processes. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. Sometimes people ask compliance, GDPR, 21 CFR Part 11, we're compliant with all of those processes. So anyway, so I hope that helps. Let me just check here. We got it. Let's see. Question came in. Let's see. Curious, describe the workflow. Where do I see the various steps and the status of our process? Like the non-conforming and the CAPAs. So it depends. That actually brings up a good point. So our technology is roles based. Dallas alluded to that or kind of showed that, but just to explain that a little bit further. So depending on your role, you'll be able to see different functionality inside of the technology. And so depending on if you're just an operator or if you're a manager, the technology will enable you to set up reports, you can see all of those workflows. If something comes up, you can basically delineate the way you want to be notified, whether you want to see an email. As I mentioned before, we've got on top of our platform, we have the Insights technology, which gives you the ability to build your own dashboards and reports so that you can run that and you can see where there's any deviations or any of those types of things, as well as statusing of those so that you can stay up to speed, as well as if you have a weekly or a monthly meeting with your leadership and there's certain things that they want to see, you're able to create those reports and dashboards so that your leadership can have a grasp on where those things stand as well. Let's see, another one came in here. Do you provide dashboards that I can interact with? Oh, I just answered that. Yeah, so hopefully that answered your questions. Yeah, and the other nice thing about the reporting is you can schedule those reports, so you don't have to go in and create them over and over again. You can set it up once, and then you can kind of pick the cadence for which you would like to receive those reports. So if you want to get it daily or weekly, those will just automatically generate and then send those out so that you don't have to think about it again. See, another question. If we need to have this implemented in a facility in Switzerland, is it possible? The answer to that is yes. So we have locations throughout the world. As I mentioned, our headquarters is here located in Salt Lake City, Utah. And then, and by the way, if you're ever out this way, we'd love to see you. Feel free to stop by. Then we have a location in the UK, in Australia, in Japan, and in Singapore as well. And so from a support perspective, we're able to give you that 24-hour coverage if you need that. And then we're also able to service you no matter what part of the world that you're in. We have an office that you can work through to acquire our technology. See, just looking, doesn't look like anything else is coming through. Just look at my notes again. So going once, twice, we'll call that for today. What do we got? We'll let you loose just a little bit early, but before I wrap up, just a few other things here. First thing, if you would like to learn more information about our electronic batch record system, our manufacturing solution, you can scan this. This QR code will give you more information, so I'll leave this up for just a second. And then again, if you are interested in learning more, if you would like to see a demo where you can interact, or you've got specific, needs for your organization, feel free to reach out to us. We will get back to you and set something up so that we can kind of configure that demonstration, give you the ability to interact with our solutions consultant, and see that in action specifically for your scenario or for a situation that you're encountering currently. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And with that, we will wrap it up for the day. Have a great rest of the day. Have a great holiday season. We again appreciate your time, and take care. We hope to speak with you soon.